With the recent turmoil going on in Houston, the Carolina Panthers have been linked to some trade rumors so far this offseason. Though Watson hasn't formally requested a trade, it is good for us to go ahead and talk about what we should do if he became available. You're listening to Money in the Bank. If you're the Carolina Panthers, what are you willing to give away in order to gain Deshaun Watson? And to me, the answers really shouldn't be too hard. Anything they ask for. But, for example, the Houston Texans have been reported as saying that if they were to entertain a trade with Carolina, it would have to include Christian McCaffrey and 2 first-round picks. And to me, that is the easiest deal you can make in franchise history in order to bring a MVP-level quarterback back to Charlotte. I mean, look, that is a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. I've seen a lot of fans that have voiced their disapproval of trading away Christian McCaffrey. Well, let me tell you, running backs don't determine whether you win championships or not. And in Christian McCaffrey's best season, which was 2019, 1,000 receiving and rushing, we went 5-11. Guess what our record was this year without Christian McCaffrey for the majority of the season? I digress. Look, I know everybody loves Christian McCaffrey because of how versatile he is and everything in between. And obviously, he's one of the best weapons in the NFL. You won't find too many guys. I mean, obviously, doing the feat that he accomplished last year, it's not even accomplished by 2 other guys. So he is a very special player. But running back isn't a very special position that matters in terms of winning championships. Think of the best running backs you know, and think about whether they have championship rings. And if they do have championship hardware, when did they get it? Did they get it at the back end of their career where they're just riding coattails, or were they in their prime when they won Super Bowls? This isn't the 70s and the 80s anymore. Teams don't run the ball in order to win championships. You better have a quarterback that can sling it 30 to 40 times a game and a defense that can come up with turnovers. We don't have the quarterback that can throw it 30 to 40 times a game. We have a quarterback that can try, but he doesn't really work out too well. Another point is, I know there are people that want to continue the rebuild, but I have to remind people that we weren't being promised a rebuild heading into this season. They said we were going to retool. And retooling means you don't start down from the base. You just kind of take things and piece them different places and try to get back to where you were. Well, here's what we did. If we were going to rebuild, you don't rebuild with a 28-year-old quarterback. And I'm not going to get into our quarterback situation right now because obviously we understand that if we're even in this discussion, it wasn't that great. So I won't get into that. But what I will say is that if you're going to rebuild, it doesn't start there with a 28-year-old quarterback, and you don't have the weapons you have on offense that are all-pro, Pro Bowl level players across the field. That isn't a team that's rebuilding. That's a team that's really a couple pieces away from being in the playoffs and possibly being in a Super Bowl in the near future. So for Carolina, look, a rebuild's like this. Rebuilds aren't guaranteed in the NFL. And I'll say this because I look at the players we have on our roster. DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, Christian McCaffrey, Robbie Anderson. These aren't guys you're rebuilding with. These are all guys that are... Curtis and DJ Moore are starting to enter their primes, along with Robbie Anderson as well. All starting to enter their primes. Christian McCaffrey's at that point for running backs where it's a weird space because you get around year 4 or 5, and that's where we start to see the deterioration of their production. When you have a 28-year-old quarterback as well, you aren't in a position to rebuild because how much longer do you think you have these guys under contract? Curtis Samuel's due this offseason, and we don't know whether we're going to bring him back. Then you have to worry about DJ Moore the following year. He's going to demand a pretty hefty dollar at that position. You don't have the luxury of waiting on developing a guy if you didn't start this year. This past season, if you didn't start this past season, you don't have that luxury right now. So for Carolina, this would be a great way to pretty much accelerate you to the playoffs with one move. One move with this will accelerate you to the playoffs. Now for Carolina, if this trade were to go through, you send off McCaffrey, couple first-round picks, you bring in Deshaun Watson. You got to sign Taylor Moton if you do that. Curtis Samuel may have to walk. I would love to keep both, but Taylor Moton then becomes priority number 1 if we're able to gain Deshaun Watson via trade. And now it's just a funny spot to be in because it's a chance now to put yourself back into a position that we haven't been in since 2017. And this is a position that could put us in the best position to win the NFC South for years to come because Drew Brees is on. Look, if he ain't done, the game gonna retire Drew Brees before he may actually retire, but he's done. Matt Ryan, I don't know how much left he has in the. I won't question how much left he has in the tank. I think he still has good football left. I don't know how much he has left in Atlanta. And Tampa Bay, they went all in on a championship this year and next year. They're going to be done in the next 2 years. So Carolina, you can put yourself in a position to take over this division. For the front office, man, I think they need to understand how fans are feeling. And there's a good bit of fans that feel like how I do. We weren't happy with a lot of moves that have been made the last couple of years. And we want to feel like we're trying to win again. Because for the most part, I haven't felt like all the moves that have been made have been in the sake of winning. And if they were, I don't think we were on the same page as far as what we were trying to accomplish. Scott Fitterer has a chance to come in and reset the mindset here in Carolina. After getting rid of Marty Hurney, a guy that I feel like has played this organization for quite some time with some of his decision-making past round one, I think it's good to have a guy that was around the Seattle Legion of Boom era and being involved with building that team up. I want to see what type of mindset he brings to Carolina, because David Tepper was bringing a new mindset to Carolina. Bringing in Matt Rule was supposed to bring a new mindset to Carolina. And it's only right that you bring a GM that does the same thing and doesn't keep us in that same box of just being timid and scared to make moves. Look, you don't get things in this life by being timid, and I think that it goes the same for the NFL and making these moves and trying to win championships. Are you trying to put yourself in a position to win right now? Because I'm telling you right now, NFL stands for not for long in my book, and you ain't got long if you don't start putting together some results. Obviously, Matt Rule has time to get things going, but when do you want to have success? Do you want to have it now, or do you want to hope that you can have it later? If you're Carolina, man, if you're really promising this new mindset and a new look to this franchise, make a move. It may not necessarily be Deshaun Watson, but make something happen. But this has been Money in the Bank for today. Be sure to like and subscribe to the YouTube channels, Panthers Nation Podcast, Gym Dropper Sports, where these videos will be housed. And oh yeah, be sure to copy some sneaky links, man. Look, I got that info for you in the link in the bio on Gym Dropper Sports. I'll get that to you, and I'm out.